The Vrexian ambassador's warning echoed through the Galaxy Council chamber, but the assembled species merely clicked, chirped, and hissed their dismissal. Humans were new to the galactic stage, weak, soft-skinned creatures from a backwater planet. What threat could they possibly pose? The Krell Dominion struck first. Their war fleet descended upon the human colony of New Hebrides like a storm of metal and plasma. The assault lasted 3 hours. When the Krell ships departed, nothing remained but ash and silence. 15,000 human souls extinguished. The Krell expected retaliation within weeks, perhaps months. They prepared their defenses accordingly, confident that humanity's limited fleet would break against their superior numbers. What they didn't understand was that humans didn't measure vengeance in months or years. They measured it in generations. 15 years later, Hayal stood on the bridge of the UHSF Relentless, her dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. The Krell outpost designated Target 247 rotated slowly in the projection, unaware of the death approaching through the void. "Captain, we're in position," reported her tactical officer. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she reached into her uniform pocket and withdrew a small, worn photograph, a family portrait from New Hebrides. Her family. She'd been 7 years old when the Krell came, old enough to remember her mother's laugh, her father's stories, her little brother's toy spaceship, old enough to remember the sirens. "Fire," Hayal said quietly. The Relentless and her sister ships unleashed hell. Railgun slugs traveling at relativistic speeds turned the Krell station into expanding clouds of debris. There were no survivors. There never were. Across the galaxy, similar scenes played out. Humanity had taken the Krell's first lesson to heart. If you seek to exterminate, be thorough. Over 15 years, the humans had systematically dismantled every Krell military installation, colony, and supply depot. They'd tracked every ship, cataloged every world. The Krell Dominion, once spanning 40 star systems, now cowered in their home system, their fleet reduced to a handful of defenders. The Galaxy Council convened an emergency session. Kevin adjusted his human diplomatic uniform as he entered the council chamber. At 26, he was young for an ambassador. But then again, most of humanity's old guard had died on New Hebrides or in the early skirmishes of the war. The Vrexian ambassador, the same one who'd warned them 15 years ago, approached with what Kivan's translator interpreted as concern. "Ambassador Kivan, the Council wishes to mediate peace between humanity and the Krell," the Vrexian said, its crystalline voice tinkling. "Surely enough blood has been spilled." Kivan smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Tell me, Ambassador, how many of your people did the Krell kill?" "None, but then you don't get to decide when enough is enough." Kivan's voice remained pleasant, conversational even. "You stood by and watched when they slaughtered our civilians. You called it an internal dispute. Where was this council's desire for peace when our children were burning?" The chamber fell silent. The truth was uncomfortable. The council had allowed the Krell attack because they wanted to see what humanity would do. They'd viewed it as a test, a culling of the weak. They'd miscalculated catastrophically. "The Krell are ready to surrender," pressed the Vrexian. "They offer reparations, territorial concessions." "We don't want their territory," Kevin interrupted. "We want them to understand what they've created." He activated his own holographic display. Images flooded the chamber. Human children in military academies, their textbooks featuring Krell tactical analysis. Research facilities dedicated to countering Krell biology. Monuments on every human world listing the names of the dead, with a simple inscription beneath: "Never forget. Never forgive." "You see," Kavan continued, "the Krell thought they were teaching us to fear them. Instead, they taught us to hate. And humans, Ambassador, are very, very good at hating. We've been practicing on each other for millennia." The display shifted to show human ships, hundreds of them, orbiting Earth and her colonies. New designs built for one purpose. "We've spent 15 years preparing. Our entire economy, our education, our culture, all oriented around a single goal." Kivan's voice dropped to barely above a whisper. "The Krell wanted to exterminate us. We're going to return the favor." "This is genocide!" shrieked a Drellan counselor. "No." Hyal's voice cut through the chamber's chaos. She'd entered unnoticed, still wearing her combat uniform, her captain's insignia gleaming. "Genocide is what they did to New Hebrides. This is justice. She walked to stand beside Kievan, and together they faced the assembled might of galactic civilization. The Vrexian ambassador tried to warn you, Hyal said. Humans don't forget. We don't forgive. And most importantly, we don't stop. Ever. You can have your peace-loving species, your civilized wars with rules and limitations. But understand this. You taught us that the galaxy respects only one thing, strength. Kievan nodded. The Krell made us into what we are now. We'll make sure every species in this galaxy learns the lesson they paid for. Do not attack humans. The council chamber erupted in protests, threats, and pleas. But watching the two young humans stand unmoved, the Vrexian ambassador understood the terrible truth. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage as curious explorers. The Krell had transformed them into hunters, and the hunt was eternal. Epilogue: the Krell homeworld fell 3 months later. The humans, in a final demonstration of their new philosophy, allowed any Krell who could reach a ship to flee. Not mercy, a message. Those survivors would scatter across the galaxy, living warnings of what happened when you awakened humanity's wrath. The Galaxy Council never interfered with human affairs again, and somewhere in human space on a small monument on Earth, new words were added beneath the names of New Hebrides dead. They taught us to be monsters. We exceeded expectations.